Welcome everyone. I'm so glad to be in collaborations. I know we're going to learn a lot today. So sorry I missed the last one and thrilled to be here today. We're trying something a little new where some of our collaborators occasionally will help facilitate the Zoom so I can sort of sit back and be an autistic anthropologist, which is nice for me once in a while. Autism is a way of being, and we have much to learn from each other on a cultural level. If you've had a chance to speak, ask questions, make comments to our facilitator or our presenter, try to keep your remarks to about a minute or so and try to stay, in the ballpark of the subject. I know we're a very relational culture and everything is related, but we'll respect the hard work people have put in. If you've had a chance to speak, there's nothing wrong with some periods of silence because a lot of us take more time to formulate what we want to say and gather our thoughts. Respect the chat feature. It's the only way that some people communicate. And if you are on the chat and want us to read your question or comment out loud, just put the word read at the very beginning. So we'll be sure to get to you. And one last thing is if you could please keep yourself on mute if you aren't speaking, that would be great. Many of us have auditory processing challenges, so external sounds are difficult for us to cope with. Oh, and you can raise your hand either in the screen, give a little wave, or use the raising your hand icon to get attention if you want to say something out loud. And with that, I'm so happy to turn it over to my friend, ally, and collaborator, Stacy. Thank you, Stacy.
I am so excited. So I am going to facilitate this wonderful conversation with Mary. And Mary, I could say, introduce yourself, which you could give all the logistics, but I really would love to know, and I think everyone would love to know in terms of being in Ghana and the resources and the culture, what is your story around your motivation to sort of give your time and your life to the autism community? And then I want to talk about where Ghana is going to be in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'd like to say a very big thank you to CHIPS International and to Yale University for this great opportunity to share and learn and collaborate with you all. My name is Mary. I'm a wife, a mother of 3, and my last born, who is 21 years, is on the autism spectrum. I'm so much into this because I'm affected by autism. My daughter is now 21, and before she got diagnosed, it was very difficult. And I was a teacher, a registered teacher by that mother, and I did not know anything about autism. Almost 16, 17 years ago, I didn't even know what it was. The first time someone mentioned to me was the first day I heard about autism. So I asked myself, if I, who have had the privilege of being a teacher, can, not know this, how much more the rural community, people in the rural areas. And also, when anybody talks about disability, as a mother, in my head, I wanted to see, okay? So, okay, if someone is visually impaired, I can understand. If someone has any physical challenge, I see the person, I say, oh, okay. So in my head, I have an idea of what that person challenges may be. But when you look at autism, and you are yet to, see the picture of my beautiful daughter, she looks so perfect and okay on the outside. And so even after 21 years, people still come to me and ask, why do you claim such disability for your child? Okay. And I said, I am not claiming it. It is there. You don't see it. I live with it every single day. Behind that beauty and perfection is so much challenges that I deal with on a daily basis, such as stigma, and people judging you and people asking you and telling you what to do, as if you don't even know your left from right. And apart from that, there's not also, support from the government. So I felt that if there's anything I could do or give back to society, it would be to use my experience, my life, be as honest as I can be, and share the issues with the hope that somebody else is listening, somebody else, because I live it every single day. And so when I tell my story, it is something that I live with it every day. It's not something I read. It's my life, ongoing in it, until God allows. So that's the motivation.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because I think that parents can be the driving force for a human being to be whole, no matter what the big, bad, ugly world does. If you have parents that are accepting. So thank you so much for being that mom that is doing what needs to be done. So I'm going to cheat a little bit in terms of asking questions, just because I had the wonderful experience of going to Ghana. And one of the things that I wanted to get your insight on, because I think it's important for everyone to know how autism impacts other cultures, because everyone's culture is different. Everyone has a different way of doing things, different expectations. And so one of the things that I found when I was in Ghana, and I would love to know your take on this, is the teachers that I was working with were not trained teachers. The ladies who were coming into the school were not professionally trained. And so people will say, oh, they're so behind in Africa. They're so behind. And so I came back thinking, I don't really know if they're behind, because the teachers may not be trained, but they actually are caring and instinctively doing things that are wonderful without having to be trained on compassion. And so I wanted to know your experience or your journey on sort of shifting that cultural expectation of children. And you can't see autism as a disability. You can't see, but as a mom, that there are challenges. So what is your experience on the concept of people thinking Ghana doesn't have any resources and Ghana's not doing anything, because Ghana is doing something?
Thank you very much. So please, let's just move to the next slide so I can start. Okay, so the current state of autism in Ghana. So like I said, a lot of people have done a lot of work, and I want to use this great opportunity to say a very big thank you to Auntie Sewa, who started the first autism center in Ghana. Through her, a lot of people have come to understand what autism is and how it impacts life, such as myself. So, I say thank you to Auntie Sewa for opening the door for some of us. The current state of autism right now, I think we've come a long way. We've come a long way. But this has also happened because of the opportunity we've had in terms of training, creating awareness and training. We've had a lot of people coming from outside doing free training for parents, for teachers, for healthcare, professionals, and a lot of the people that work with our children. So I think that for now, I can confidently say that Ghana is now beginning to really understand what autism is, how it affects the population, and we are also shifting from that belief of it being witchcraft or being caused by, some of all these superstitious beliefs. I think we are gradually shifting now. Please, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So these are some of the challenges in Ghana when it comes to autism: lack of understanding and support. And so this one, I said earlier that when people talk about disability, they want to see it to believe it. And so when it's autism, where you can't necessarily see it, but you have to experience the child, spend time with them before you can see certain behaviors to actually understand and believe it's there. This has really made it very difficult for people to accept it. I run a center with 86 children on a daily basis. I've had parents come in and say, do not give any letter that concerns my child to my driver or any other person except me. I have had parents who come in. We had uniform that we're using for the children. For, sometimes, some of these children can wander around. Should somebody see them wearing their uniform, at least they know where these children are coming from, especially if the child gets missing and they are non-verbal. And I had challenges with parents saying, no, once you put on, the uniform, people are going to think that, my child has A, B, C, D. And at a point, I had to actually, say, okay, if you don't believe your child has autism, fine. Can we start doing something to support your child? And so as at now, I still have parents who would say, there's nothing wrong with my child. He's just not talking. That's it. And, when it comes to denial and acceptance and all that, it's a real journey. It takes time. So people really don't get it. Even parents. And divorce rate is very high among my parents, about 50, 60%. That is how high it is. Because living through it, it comes with a lot of pressure on your marriage, on your finances, on your, even engaging with the community. Or in Ghana, we have a lot of celebrations, funerals, outdooring, and all that. And when you have a child who may not be sleeping at night, there are some of these engagements you can't confidently go. And so, because your child has challenges, you try not to engage with the larger community. And so even as at now, we are talking about it on radio, TV, having parent coffee mornings and all that. We still have a percentage of the population, even among the parents, who do not get it at all. And we have to come to a compromise and say, okay, if you say your child doesn't have autism, what does the child have? And then they'll say, oh, they have delayed speech. I said, okay, so let us start working with the child. So I think we still have a long way to go. There's a lot of social stigma and discrimination. At a point, my family, that's my husband, my 2 boys, and my daughter, we had to stop going to church. Why? Because my daughter has a lot of sensory issues. So sometimes she'll just block her ears. She wants to pace up and down. She doesn't want to sit at one place. And it was a bother because what's the sense of going to church and not being able to sit and listen to whatever is happening? So at a point, we stopped going to church and we formed our own church, just my family. So we just go to, a place very quiet. My husband will bring, a quotation from the Bible, we will read, we will sing, we will dance, and then we come home. This continued for more than 5 years until my daughter became quite calm, where we could go back to church. Even with that, we had to take turns. So if my husband is at church this week, another week it's me, another week it's my sons, babysitting my daughter. And we had to do that until it got to a point where I was so tired. Even when I'm at church, I'm sleeping. So I said, why not stay home? God is everywhere, He's not a God of proximity, so why not stay? So sincerely speaking, I don't go to church for the past 8 years. Because what is the sense of still going and I'm going through all this? And people also don't understand. I want to share one story. I hope I'm not going too fast. Please prompt me if I'm going too fast. So one time we went to church, and in Ghana, church service, especially 31st night, is so huge. We go, we tap into the anointing. Our pastors will come and lay hands on us, anoint us. And then, we are so gingered for the next year. That was the last 31st night church service I attended. And let me show you what happened. Now I can understand, but at that time I didn't have this understanding. So usually at 31st, when we are done with everything, shouting, praising God, we have the pastor, the head pastor, coming to put anointing oil on our forehead as a sign of protection for the next year in our church, that particular year. And so, you know, as a mother with so much faith in God, I joined the line. Now, my daughter has a lot of sensory issues. Even at 21, she doesn't want me to hug her. She wants a space. If you come too close to her, she wants you to give her. I think she doesn't feel safe when you come too close to her. And so even now, you know, we are still accommodating a lot of things. So when the pastor put this oil on her forehead, she quickly, you know, used another, her hand, the other hand, and wiped the oil off. And then I took mine and then we went out. Just 5 minutes of going out from the building because she didn't like what happened. Somebody from the church came to me and said, praise the Lord, hallelujah. Then I was just looking at this and said, oh, madam, you saw how your daughter, you saw how she pushed, you know, she wiped off the oil and everything from her forehead. There was so much power in the anointing of God. Your child was manifesting. And I said, my child was manifesting what? At that time, I didn't know it was because of sensory issues. But look at how these people are translating or, you know, describing the incident that happened, thinking that maybe the power in the anointing oil, you know, my child, there was so much power in it. So it has nothing to do with it. It was because even at home, when you want to put pomade on her skin, she doesn't feel so fine. There were times that she didn't even want to wear clothes or shoes. And so she was only reacting as a sign of sensory overload at the time. It wasn't because there was some power in the oil. So there's a lot of social stigma. Another time too, we went to church, and then in Ghana, we give offerings when the preacher has finished preaching and they put a bowl there. And so we go in line and we put our money in the collection bowl. Now, this is what my daughter has observed throughout our time of going to church. Now, on this particular day, we had another minister from another church coming to preach. And then in the middle of the preaching, he said he's touched. God wants people to sow seeds. And so he's going to make like an altar call. People that are touched and want to sow seeds into the things he was mentioning to run to the to the front where he was standing and place the money in front of the altar. Now, mind you, this is a child with autism who has observed so much where we put our money when we go to church. Now, on this particular day, the pastor has asked us to put the money on the floor. When people finished running to put the money on the altar, my daughter stood up boldly, walked straight to the front where people put the money on the floor. She picked every single one of them and put it in a collection book. She turned around and started laughing. I just sat and I allowed things to take its natural course, because in her mind, I come to this church all the time. This is not why we do it. So why are you putting it on the floor today? So after the embarrassment and everything, I said, you know what, we'll stay home. So people still don't understand. So there's stigma and a lot of discrimination. Another person called me at church and said, are you the woman with a sick child? That one was very painful to me. You couldn't find any description to my child than to say that a sick child. So there's a lot of discrimination. I have also, and this is my last example, I could go on and on. We had gone to a party, and I am so vocal on television and radio, raising awareness. So people know me, like the woman that talks about autism. And when we went to this party, and this is very recent, another parent I know, I met her at the, the ladies' room. And then he said, Auntie Mary, I came with my friends. So please, you can't talk to me when we go inside, because once we start talking, they may think that my child has autism. This is the level of stigma. This is the level of stigma. So giving these examples, I'm sure in your minds, you can understand the level of stigma within our community. And then limited specialized services and resources. Appropriate teaching and learning materials are very expensive. It's just recently that things like bubbles, exercise balls, sensory toys, sensory light, all these things we had to import them. And they are very expensive. And sometimes because these toys are very expensive and we don't have the resources to keep buying, even though you may just have one and have to share it among the students, there are times that you just have to maybe hold on to the toy because you're also afraid that maybe once you give to them, they're going to destroy all the toys. And it happens. At the end of every time, very expensive toys. I've tried to find ways that we can manufacture some of them locally, but I haven't been successful. The only ones we could do were maybe the alphabets, and then thanks to things like widgets, we are able to print, laminate, cut out, and then, we share with parents. It is sad to know that in Ghana, most parents want their children, especially with autism, to talk. So when you introduce things like PECs, picture exchange communication systems, they don't buy into this thing. So when you laminate, print, and give it to them, most of them don't even use it. Can we go to, yes, and then the last one on my next slide, please. So this is Nanaya. This is my daughter. She's 22 in few months. Nanaya is non-verbal. She can say a few words, in context sometimes. And she has a lot of sensory issues from food, touch, a whole lot. We have gone through a lot with this girl. However, I saw that even though my daughter was not, talking in terms of what people expect from her, she's not able to have conversation. She has a lot of sensory issues. I looked at her and said, this girl is very beautiful. There's something I can do with her. I created a small studio and I paid a photographer who was a professional photographer. And then I got a lot of Ghanaian clothes, beautiful ones. And we started taking pictures. Initially, she would not look at us. And so our model, ready, steady, then, I show her how to stand and pose for a picture. I did this for 7 months. And within those 7 months, especially the last month, we got some very beautiful pictures. I started putting it on Facebook. Can you believe that some brands started wanting to use her for adverts? I said, well, she can't talk. So if it's for wigs or maybe for clothes, she can give you good pictures. And we started doing that. And she started earning some money from that as well. As a parent, I also tried whatever I learned from trainings to teach my sons. I have 2 other sons. To teach my sons, engage my husband in, and then we talk about it. I invested in books. I invested in training. Anything I learned, I made sure that, I roped them into it. And this has really helped us, as a family. So my children, my sons who are adults now, my husband is very much into supporting me at home. So this is Nanaya. She's very bright and very curious. She loves to learn every day. At the moment, the good news is that in February this year, we had a partnership with one of the 5-star hotels in Ghana, Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel. And they asked to have a collaboration with them. And then out of that collaboration, they were going to employ 3 children on the autism spectrum. And I'm so glad to share with you myself and another 18-year-old boy. They started working with Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel. Yale works at the laundry department, folding handkerchiefs, folding, towels, and arranging them. And she does this so well. And then it's at the data department, entering data on the computer. And the last time we went there, they told me he hardly makes any mistake. He's so focused in what he does that he does it so well, even more than the people who are so able. And then it's also at the kitchen department, helping with cooking, washing of plates, arranging the knives. And so these people are doing so well that we were told last week it was going to be a 9-month period with them, but they are going to renew the contract for them to work there. I think this gives parents a lot of hope that whatever your child can do, You need to support that child. There's something good in every child. Not all of us are going to be doctors, teachers, nurses. Whatever that young adult can do, do not take it away from them. However, I would also state that parent support is so key. You can have the best therapist attending to your child. If the parent is not involved, it's zero work. Because for them to also generalize learning, whatever happens at the therapy room has to be, supported at home. And this is so important. Next slide. So there's growing increased awareness and advocacy efforts. Organizations like ACT, Amoah Kuffuor, NAPS, CHIPS International, and Clicks Africa Foundation are on the forefront, raising awareness, talking to parents, supporting parents, providing diagnosis, therapy, and support groups. And the support group is very key. There's nothing more rewarding and satisfying than to find your own tribe, people that can understand you, people that gets it when you say you are tired. When I tell you that I'm tired mentally, emotionally, physically. And sometimes I say my tired is tired. So when you tell, a regular person I'm tired, they don't get it. But when you tell a parent who is in your own shoes that, in fact, today I can see that I'm falling, I need help, I need support, that parents get it. And that shoulder to lean on is so, 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 so important. Next slide, please. Yes. So the future of autism, I think there's a lot of hope as we continue to raise awareness, provide support, education, and, involve stakeholders. It's very important. Again, this is my daughter. You can see she's modeling in a gown for a fashion company. She's also wearing one of the wigs from one of the salons here in Ghana, Shasha Wigs, and she's doing so, so, so well. This Christmas, for instance, people are buying a lot, and she gets a percentage from, the sales. You don't need words. You don't need to talk to do some of these things. But again, a lot of work has gone in, and my whole family has been involved, especially my husband. Please, next slide. So creating a brighter future, promoting acceptance is very key, providing access to services. So this was one problem I had. We kept on, raising awareness, and now people are coming and you don't have the place to accept them. That was a worry to me. If you go to ACT, they have enough children. I don't know whether they are even accepting more. Amoah too is full. Most of the centers are full right now. And so parents come, we have to turn them off because, we don't have the resources such as human resources, the teachers, the therapists, and it's very expensive paying for OT, speech, and all that. It's very, very expensive. So sometimes I say that awareness is very good, but it must also go hand in hand with providing support. So the parent is there, you've spoken to them about autism or their child has special needs. Now they say, okay, what's next? So it's also very important that as we raise awareness, advocate, and all that, we also increase the number of centers or the support and places that parents can go to and receive support. I say this in my advocacy work all the time, that if you are waiting for your child who is nonverbal, or not talking, to be the voice, it's going to take a long time. So for some of us working with our children, with autism, the parent becomes the voice. You become the advocate. You can only advocate if you know your rights. If you know your rights and you know your subject matter very well. So I keep telling the parents, research, read, take opportunity of all these trainings that, we get and learn as much as possible. Your child may be doing well today. Trust me, I call it 10 steps forward, 20 steps back. There are days that we are doing so well, and I'm so happy, and it's like autism is living my life. And the next moment, we are back to square one. That is autism for you. You can only make informed decisions when you understand your child. In any case, research shows that we don't know what causes autism. Research again says that it's a spectrum. Where on this spectrum is your child? It can only take the parent who is well informed to be able to make decisions. And that is why we say that behind the child that makes the most progress is an active family or an active parent. And finally, I say better future for individuals with autism and their families. Next slide. Next slide, please. I think the next slide, okay, thank you. So this is working at the laundry department. This is a big machine for ironing the clothes, the bed sheets. When we went at first, the noise was so much. So we're using earpiece, the noise cancellation earpiece. After 6 weeks, we didn't have to use it because she was used to the machine and the noise and everything. Before we took our children to Kimpiski, we had series of training for the staff, how to relate with the children, what are some of the things that can trigger meltdown. And last week, after 10 months when we went back, there was some beautiful feedback. I told them I was going to go back and record or video all the feedbacks we were getting. My daughter, where she is, the department, the supervisor told me, unless it is 12 o'clock when they have to go for lunch, y'all will not understand why you have to stand there and talk to another person when there is work. She would come and just hold you and pull you to go and finish the work. So they've studied her so well that when it's getting to 12 o'clock, they have to only send just a few of the things or what they have to do, so that at exactly 12, they know that they are done. So she would understand that it is time for her to go for lunch. Otherwise, she will not understand why the work is not done and you want her to go for lunch. But again, I told her gradually she's going to understand, the schedules and everything. But they've made a lot of progress, all the three of them. For my daughter, for instance, we used to have a lot of tantrums, self-injurious behaviors, high anxiety levels. But since she started working, especially anxiety, I'll say has gone down from 80 to about maybe 20% now. And I am so, so, so grateful. Next slide. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So I'll pause here for all your questions. And please, you can ask me any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing that wonderful, enlightening, inspiring, assertive story. I love your passion for parents being educated. Like, it's so important. You can't make decisions if you don't know. So I do have a comment to read. Before I read the comment, Mary, I do want to say that I love that you recognized that your daughter, her anxiety levels reduced since she went to work. And I think that sort of shines the light on everybody wants to wake up and have a purpose, right? So if you're home as an adult and you are not able to have access to doing something, then it can be a little anxiety driven, I'm quite sure. So I love that you are having that example, because I think parents need to see that. All right. Dawn wants me to read her comment, and I'm just going to read it out loud the way it's written. Since this is an autism positive space that subscribes to a non-medical view of autism, I would like to hear what you have experienced with autistic ways of being that are beautiful and positive. I hope your alliance can give you a deeper understanding. I hope our alliance, sorry, can give a deeper understanding of autistic experiences that helps both families and autistic people themselves in new ways.
Okay, can you summarize that for me so that I can answer better?
Yes. Can you see the comment?
Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah.
I think it is more around, can you share your experience and the positives of your daughter being an autistic individual? So I think automatically, oh my gosh, your daughter has that ability to get into a workflow, that monotropic hyperfocus. That's a great benefit for her doing her job. What are some of the things that you see that are, because she's autistic, she is wonderful about what? Share with us, share with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I think I have tons.
I love it.
Yes. As much as, I didn't see this coming, when I got married, or I didn't envisage this. Trust me, I have seen so much blessings in having my daughter. She's made me a better person. In all honesty, this girl has made me a better person. I used to be a very quick-tempered person, extremely quick-tempered. And when you have a child with autism, you put in this investment in your child, therapy, giving them, organic food, making sure that, you're following schedules, you are learning about sensory issues, and you do all this. Your child makes progress. And then the next moment, it's like they've lost everything. That's autism for you. Now, progress doesn't happen because I did ABC. Sometimes your child will make progress. Sometimes you do A to Z and you see nothing. Because I put in so much and I got nothing. No. So I started working on my own patients. And then I think another thing I'm so grateful for is having a non-judgmental, attitude towards life. And I'll give an example. I used to, work at an organization, and I was the one that was employing people. And then a gentleman came and he had tattoos all over his body. Now, culturally in Ghana, we frown a bit on tattoos. I'll be honest, So when I saw the tattoos, initially when he came, I didn't see the tattoos. So we gave him the opportunity to volunteer for 3 months. Now, this was a center for children with autism. And then when he came, I think he knew that, people didn't like that. So he was always in long sleeves. And he was working. In fact, among the staff I had, he was the best. Now, I think after 3 months when he was employed, one day he came, because that day was very hot, and he had short sleeves with all his spider tattoos. When I saw it, oh my God, I called him. But I think even he was the one that was handing the children when we closed. He would just take the child's bag and hand the child over to the parent. And then we crossed, that child has been, taken home. And then the parents started calling me as a coordinator. You see such a person with tattoos, you know what they can do to a child, blah, 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 blah. To cut long story short, we had to ask him to go because, yes, the parents frowned on, I think in their heads. It's just like, there's this visual image in people's heads that, and let me be frank, please, I say this in not with any prejudice or anything. For instance, people think that people who have Rasta smoke. I have seen some wonderful people, And so in our heads, we have all these judgments about people. Later, when I understood my daughter very well, I stood up for this gentleman. I actually went to him and apologized that I am so sorry I could not stand up for you. And so since this, example that I had with the gentleman, I started asking myself, this is how the community see our children. Even before they get to know them, they in their heads. And everybody who is a founder in Ghana will tell you, if you don't have your own space running your center and you are renting, one of the difficult things to get is getting a place. You know how they have tagged children with autism as children who destroy, things. They destroy your doors, they'll destroy your louver and all that. So having this non-judgmental attitude has helped me grow as a human being. Let me tell you the truth. If I've been able to stay with my husband for 34 years, it's because of my daughter. It is because of, I owe this one thing to my daughter, because I was very impatient. But sometimes I look at her and I'm like, this man has done this thing. You are leaving, who will come and take care of this child? That's okay. So I think that apart from being patient, apart from having that non-judgmental attitude, I think it has also strengthened my faith in God. You need to believe in something higher than yourself. And also being able to be a voice for someone who can't talk for themselves. People are really vulnerable. I run a page on Facebook with over 750,000 followers. And we go into the community, we film parents telling their stories, And anytime I am having challenge, all I need to do is to go out and do something for someone who can't pay me back. I've always done this, and whenever I come back, I feel better. So I think even having Nanaya, understanding her and all this has just made me a better person. And I think I'm highly blessed to be able to be a support, a mouthpiece for someone else. At the end of the day, through all the scriptures and whatever religion we believe in, love stands out. So I think autism in my life has brought maybe more positive than the negative I see. Of course, the challenges are there, but I live each day at a time.
So I'm going to ask you a challenging question. It may not be challenging. If your daughter could write a letter or a list of 2 things that are wonderful about her because she is autistic, what do you think your daughter would write down?
About her,
Mm-hmm.
she is extremely neat. Extremely. So in my house, here, this house, you can't just take your shoes off and put it anywhere. No, you cannot do that in this house. No. You cannot open my fridge and take water and just, if you go inside my fridge right now, every water is standing like they've been arranged. Okay. She's extremely neat. In Ghana, we use what we call sachet water. Anytime I take the sachet water, I'll just tear it with my teeth and just, spit that part I did. My daughter will stand there and look for it, take it and put it in the trash. That is her. If you come to the house, you need to sit at where you've been at. So she has her own chair. Now, I think now she's beginning to, since she started working, there was no way you could stand, sit in her chair. But now, she's now allowing people. So I could go and sit in her chair and I won't have any problem. So I think she'll write about herself as being very neat. And they say that children with autism don't have feelings. My daughter is the opposite. My daughter is the opposite. And I don't know if, I think she has this high sense of spirituality because, something, that's when I'm going through a lot of challenges. This girl doesn't love to hug people, but she can just come, look at my face and just hug me. And trust me, I feel so good after those hugs. It's like, Mommy, you know what? You've got this.
Mm-hmm. It's the horrible stigma that they say autistic individuals don't have empathy, but that is so not true. That is so not true. So not true. Thank you for sharing what your daughter would say. So what I'm hearing is, and I'm thinking like, what would I tell a parent, which now I need you to come and talk to my parents, but because she is an autistic individual, her ability to hyper-focus is very beneficial. Her ability to attend to detail and organize visually is wonderful. And that's great. I love that because she is autistic. She is that person that keeps your house in order.
Very, very well.
I had a guy.
When you see her coming and your room is, just lock the room.
Yes.
Sometimes even when you are asleep, she'll just wake you up and say, lie straight, lie.
There is a question in regards to the CLICS Foundation. Do they work outside of Ghana or just in Ghana?
So we work in Ghana now, but from last month, we are supporting families in Ethiopia. So
Oh.
we've sent, yes. So we've sent occupational therapists, a trained, certified occupational therapist right now, who is in Addis Ababa for the past 4 months, supporting parents. I was there last month to supervise, and oh, the beautiful, amazing stories I, heard. But if you ask me, what is it that we are doing that is working? Love and patience.
Mm-hmm.
Love and patience.
Mm-hmm.
Just understanding the child and letting them be, just supporting them so they can be themselves. And I remember when my child started to spin, I started spinning around. People thought that, this woman is finally going crazy. But I wasn't. It helps me to sleep anyway. We go for a walk at 6 o'clock or 6:15. She has to go for a 15, 20 minutes walk. And it's helping me. There are days that I don't feel like walking, but she'll come and pull you. And I don't know whether she knows that this is 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., but her body clock doesn't make me, it's correct all the time. Yes. So I think that love, patience, understanding for these children is 3 key factors that will help you see progress.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I looked through the chat. I think that was all that I saw. I don't know if I missed something in the chat, because I could just go on and on. And I think has a comment that she has in there. Just checking to make sure. Oh, Mary, I got to get my ticket to Ghana. And Mary, I'm going to message Serwa and tell her, you didn't introduce me to Mary when I was there. But that's okay.
You have to come for the pork of me. You have to come for the pork.
I know. I think that one of the things
Can I jump in a second?
Of course. I'm going to mute.
My icons aren't doing their thing. I wanted to say, Mary, how much I appreciate your recognizing your daughter's emotional and spiritual expansivity. We see that all the time in our group of autistic people here. And I know that if we can't communicate with autistic people, it's very difficult to know what we experience. And that's my hope for our alliance here, is that we can share as autistic people what it's like to be in our skin, what it's like to be in our spirit, because there's so much more going on there than people understand. And I think this alliance could help, obviously, not just families understand, but bring a certain sense of pride to autistic people as well, so that they can truly be valued in their communities. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm curious to understand, to know, what does she like to do for fun, or what does she like to do when she has free time?
Okay, I'm going to show you some because I'm in her room. Let me just show you. So my daughter is obsessed with bags. You see this, whenever she's going through anxiety, she comes and stands there and begins to you see how she has, look at the colors. Let me take this. I just want to show you something. And okay, how do we do this? Okay. So I'm just, or maybe this. Can you see this? Can you all see this, please?
Yes.
So this is my daughter. This is a safe haven.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Colors, handbags, and we as parents, so this really makes sense. She can just come here, she count them. When I want to teach her how to use money, I come and stand here and say, can I buy a bag? She says, yes, which color? And I think I have my exchange cards here. Okay, maybe I'll ask my son. So I come here to borrow a bag anyway. So today, for instance, I used a brown bag. I had to ask for it. And when I came, I have to say, thank you. And we'll say, bye-bye, bag, bye-bye. So this really makes her, very calm. And you dare not mix them. As soon as I leave this room, she'll come and stand there. If I put this back here, she'll know that I have changed the position. She is so organized. And another thing she loves to do is to walk around. She loves to go for a walk. She can walk and walk and walk without getting tired. And that helps her, to sleep. I think she loves music too.
Mhm.
She's always humming, she's singing and dancing. She loves music. She loves music.
I
Yes.
appreciate that you allow her to have access to her sensory regulating activities like walking and music. I think that's wonderful. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. Well, Mary, I hate to
So when
say,
I don't like something, I show her.
yeah.
I think they're in the next room. If you don't mind, I have all our visual schedule. Today, I took her out
Mhm.
as a reward. I took her outside Accra for a lunch as a reward. And it was very beautiful. After we are done and going to sit in the car, she smiled at me and gave me that hug I love so much. As if to say, thank you, Mom.
I love that.
So I have,
John,
yes,
go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, great, thanks. So I was going to say, I have a comment, not so much of a question, but again, of course, thanks to Dawn and to Roger and to Mary and all, and Stacy, and I think what Dawn had mentioned in terms of finding positive ways of finding things which are beautiful. I mean, the things which Mary you brought out in terms of her being neat and her being so loving, your daughter being Nanaya being so loving and so neat and so on. I think, as Dawn had mentioned, that is one of the great possible benefits of this alliance with CASY. So that it's something which we can propagate more, especially in Ghana, to see the other side of it. Because Mary, we all know what it's like. Yeah, I mean, with the stigma, so and so forth. But we can turn that around to some extent. I mean, there's some things which you can, but to some extent we can turn that around. So I think that's important, and that's very helpful, and that's something which we can do more. And Mary is a great advocate here. I mean, she's, like she said, everybody knows her. With regards to autism and so on, everybody knows her. Auntie Sewa, who came earlier, Sewa Quino, who did the first session, is also, again, very well known. But in terms of vocal and on TV and so on, especially now, I mean, Mary, so that's something which we can further this alliance and something which we can push forward, I think, and it'd be great. So thanks to everybody again.
I agree.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you, Mary, so much for your time and sharing your stories. And when I come to Ghana, I'm going to have to borrow a bag.
You just have to.
Thank you all for participating. And thank you, Dawn, for letting me participate in a different way. Ghana is very close to my heart. Like, I really did not want to leave. When I tell you I did not want to leave, I did not want to leave. But I will be back. So thank you so much. And
You're
we will
welcome.
all, this will be recorded, right? And the replay will be available for folks to see. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. I love it. The wonderful thanks.